I'd be lying if I said the post-holiday blues didn't hit me pretty hard. We put the decorations up on the 8th, and I always feel down when they're gone. On top of that, these nasal issues have been kicking my ass. I can only breathe out of one nostril, and I've been taking Sinex like fucking cocaine. Here's to hoping it goes away by the time we're ready to leave. Now, if there's one place I never want to end up again, it's that place those assholes took us to. My eyes opened, and I sat up groggily. When the blurriness cleared from my vision, I saw that I was in a small room with a hard-as-rock bed. To my left was a claustrophobically small bathroom. The sink of it was outside. To my right was the door leading out of the room. Of course, I knew it would be locked, but I wasn't exactly happy about being imprisoned. I tried the handle anyway and proceeded to pound on it while yelling, "Let me out of here, you fucking snakes!" Now, Pete, that won't do you any good. I turned around to notice a speaker along with 2 cameras. Each one was planted in the corner so the entire room could be viewed at all times. Instinctively, I shot the bird at the nearest one, while the disturbing thought, "there may be a bathroom camera," crossed my mind. A chuckle came from the speakers. Is that any way to communicate? It is for assholes like you guys. I started patting my clothes. As expected, I no longer had my weapons on me. Did you really think we wouldn't search you guys before we brought you here? We were very thorough, you know. What do you mean by that? I asked, and quickly realized I could probably do without the answer to that question. Actually, forget it. I don't want to know. Where's Carl and Nick? Don't worry, they're safe. By now, they should have woken up as well. What do you want from us? All in good time, Pizza Man. Why don't you relax for a bit? Think of this as a vacation from all the running around you guys have been doing. Oh, yeah, I love vacations where some fucktarts kidnap me and my friends and imprison us. I got no reply to that. I sat on the bed, wondering what their endgame was and how Carl and Nick were handling things. We'd been through way worse at this point, so I wasn't too concerned for them. What did worry me was how loudly my stomach was growling. I remembered I hadn't eaten since right before we got stuck in that cave. At that moment, it just so happened that someone came by the door. I found it had a slot. I didn't even notice until they slid it back and pushed a tray of food through it, closing it right after. The tray landed on the floor. On it was a circular bread loaf along with some mac and cheese. The bread was so dried out I felt like I could break a window with it. Somehow, the mac and cheese was even worse, being so bland and slimy. I had to fight the urge to immediately spit it back out after taking only a single bite. You have to try to fuck up mac and cheese that bad. Still, it wasn't as though I was expecting the 5-star treatment, so I made do with the food given to me. A plastic cup was sitting on the sink, which I filled with water. I found dipping my bread into it helped to make it slightly more palatable. When it comes to eating shitty food, my tip is don't. However, if you have to, eat the worst stuff first to get it out of the way. That's what I did. Once I finished my meal, a word I use loosely in this context, the one thing left to do was wait. After some time, the same guy spoke to me. This time, it was from the other side of the door. How are you doing, Pete? Fuck you. Not too well, I see. You must be feeling restless. Tell you what, why don't we let you out of the room so you can walk around a bit? All you have to do is cooperate. Put these on." Once again, the door slot slid open and some folded clothes were pushed through it. They were white, akin to the scrubs that nurses typically wear. A quick inspection of them told me the pants didn't have pockets. Sighing, I quickly changed into them. "All right, I'm done." I figured this would be a good opportunity to survey wherever it was we were being kept and possible escape routes in mind. 2 guards came in and cuffed me, then escorted me out of the room. I saw the man who had been talking to me. "Wait a sec. You're the guy I threw that 2-liter bottle at back in town." Despite him smiling, his eye twitched a little at the mention of that. "All in the past. Now follow me." The hallway was bleak and gray with concrete walls. Doors were on both sides of it. My heartbeat ticked a little faster due to hearing crying coming from some of them. As we were walking, he began explaining things. "Pete, do you know why we've been after you guys?" "Beats me. I just thought you were pretty mad about us getting away." "It's because you 3 are walking hazards. We know about the people who have died due to the little camping trip you guys had. Not to mention that cop and the priest. It's a wonder more people haven't died because of your carelessness." "Those weren't our fault," I said defensively. "Not directly, but like it or not, they were the results of your actions, and as such, we've brought you here." "And where exactly would that be?" He ignored that question. "Wait, aren't you guys in danger with us here?" "Not to worry. This facility has a number of measures in place to deal with cursed individuals such as yourself that we bring in." "What have you guys been doing with our town since we've been away?" "Oh, just a little surveillance is all. I'm glad you brought that up, though. We've been told an extraterrestrial was sighted recently. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?" "Just say alien, you pretentious prick," I thought. "Sorry, doesn't sound familiar." There was no way I was going to tell these cunts a damn thing about Zoe. Speaking of whom, I was impressed he was able to avoid detection for so long. "Why don't you try real hard to see if you can remember anything? We have ways to help jog your memory. We came across some double doors which used a key card to unlock. My breath caught in my throat when I saw what was waiting on the other side of them. For starters, the room was so large its bottom and top couldn't be seen. What really got me feeling nervous were all the glass rooms and what was inside them. I could see all kinds of creatures in the rooms. I recognized some, such as werewolves and vampires, but part of me felt bad for the vampire since he looked so gaunt. The other part didn't want to find out what would happen if he got out of his room. In another, I could see a group of floating pink sparkling orbs. "Are those fucking fairies?" I wondered aloud. "Pretty, aren't they? Mischievous as hell, though. We managed to catch these because they were weakened. Our goal is to make use of their magic. Unfortunately, they haven't exactly been cooperative. Gee, I can't imagine why. So what is the point of showing all this to me?" A chill ran down my spine when I noticed some of the monsters eyeing me. Some were large and furry, while others were thin and scaly. There were others who appeared not to have skin at all. It's to let you know that if you don't give us what we want, we can easily make you a meal for any of our prisoners here. The vampire is one of the first things you see when you come through here. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to become acquainted with you, since it's been a little while since his last meal. He must have noticed my nervousness, because his smile widened. But I want you to know that we aren't unreasonable. All you have to do is answer questions truthfully. We'll even give you extra privileges. Who knows? You may even get out of here one day, provided you swear to never disclose what you've seen here. So, what will it be? Careful consideration was key here. Our safety was of great importance. However, Zol, I knew, was the key to helping our town. He was also our friend as well, even though we'd only gotten to know him for a short time. What is it that you want to know? You know what? Tell us what you know about the extraterrestrial. Your friend Nick has already told us. I don't mean to talk bad about your friend, but we were able to break him pretty easily. You should have seen him crying and begging for us to stop. I felt my hands ball into fists. If it weren't for the handcuffs, plus the armed guards around me, I would have broken his nose. Still, I needed to keep my composure. I've seen this trick before on cop shows. They'll lie and tell someone they're interrogating that their accomplice already confessed in order to get them to confess. I was in a similar situation. I wouldn't know any more than him about it, but if he really did meet an alien, that sounds really exciting. What did he say about it? The man glared at me. Fine, smartass, if that's how you want it. He snapped his fingers, and the next thing I knew, one of the guards clocked me on the back of my head, knocking me out. The first thing I noticed upon waking up, aside from my pounding headache, was the fact that I was cuffed to a table. From out of the shadows, the man appeared along with some guards. In his hand was a remote, which he used to make the table rise, allowing me to get a better view of it. Man, what kind of James Bond villain type shit are you guys pulling? I yelled, trying fruitlessly to free myself. And why do you guys have a cat? One of the guards held a fluffy white cat, which they'd stroked softly. Cats and dogs have an acute sense for the paranormal. If something dangerous is nearby, it'll warn us. Then why not use a dog instead? I'm allergic to them, but that's not important. What is important is that you won't be alone in what you're about to do. He pushed more buttons on the remote. Carl and Nick were pushed into the light, also strapped to tables. The latter's condition didn't appear that bad. However, the same couldn't be said about the former's. Carl's face was swollen with large bruises under his left eye. A trail of dried blood connected his nostrils and his shirt, which indicated they'd broken his nose. Hey, Pete, he said, giving a weak smile. What did you do to him? I shouted. He was giving us a hard time, so we had to be a little rough. It's a real shame. David is really disappointed with him. Who? Once again, my question was ignored, but I could see Carl's expression darkened at the mention of that name. Now, we'll do worse than that to you, unless you give us answers. Nick, are you okay? I cried out to him. I'm fine, he replied. Don't tell these assholes anything. Correction, he's fine for now. So, what'll it be? I glanced over at Carl and Nick, who just gave me slight nods. Okay, sure. The man gave me a smug smile. You've made the right choice. Glad to hear it. I just need you to come a little closer. What for? Well, you see, what I'm going to tell you is really important. It'd be for the best if only people of importance heard it first. He studied me for a moment and then walked over to me. Your arms and legs are restrained, so it's not like you can hit me. Now, let's hear it. Okay, I thrusted my head forward, connecting my forehead with his nose. Forget about my neck, dickhead, I told him as he staggered back, blood gushing from his nostrils. Carl and Nick grinned at that. In response, he quickly pulled out his gun and smacked me across the face with it. The coppery taste of my blood covered my tongue. I spat it out at him. It landed on one of his shoes, and he looked ready to strangle me. Fine, if that's how you want it. He walked away, yelling for some guards to get him a tissue. Did I really kill that cop? Nick asked us. He returned shortly with some cotton balls stuffed in his nose. With him were some scientists, some heavily armed guards, and a large metal crate. What's in there? Nick asked. You're about to find out. He and those with him took out some squirt bottles and proceeded to spray its contents all over themselves. The hell? Is that vinegar? I wrinkled my nose at the strong smell. It'll keep it from noticing us. He gestured toward the box and then snapped his fingers. They unlocked the crate and slid it open. Fear of centipedes and millipedes is common. I myself have never been really afraid of them, beyond generally finding them unpleasant. However, after seeing what came crawling out of that crate, I swear I'm going to kill everyone I see just to spite that horrible thing. It was very similar to them, except for being a lot larger. Two feelers extended from its mouth, and it moved them over the room. It reminded me of someone stumbling around trying to find something in the dark. Seeing that shit was really fucking unnerving. The only other thing about it that came close was the sounds it made. Aside from the scraping and chirping, which was already bad enough, its body twisted and cracked. I shit you not when I say each movement it made sounded like someone getting their bones broken. They'd gotten some kind of leash around its neck and were holding it back as it was thrashing, trying to get at us. Last chance, the man said. Don't you care about your friends? We'll make sure they're safe, and your town has been in good hands as well. Don't listen to them, Pete, Carl shouted. All these assholes care about is furthering their own power. Whatever they say, disregard it like the trash it is. The man stared daggers at him. Whatever it is, we can take it, Nick said. We've been through worse. Indeed, we have. I gave the man a firm answer of, go fuck yourself. His breathing became rapid and the veins at his neck stood out. Despite his expression, his voice was disturbingly calm. You've been through worse, huh? Then we'll just have to see if we can reach that bar. At his command, it was released. The thing moved fast. Within a couple of seconds, it was already standing in front of me. I knew whatever was about to happen wouldn't be pleasant. All I could do was mentally prepare myself as I felt my heart hammer and my body tensing up. Its waving feelers now suddenly stood straight, pointing at me. Up close, I noticed two things about them that I didn't before. The first was that they ended in stingers, and the second is the fact that the feelers were barbed with tiny spikes. I glanced at the man who was now wearing a sadistic grin. Enjoy the meal. Its feelers shot forward, sticking them into my chest, and all I could do was scream. I have a lot more to say about the place and what we went through there. However, typing fatigue is once again taking hold of me, so I'm going to cut this off here. I think I'll make some popcorn and watch a movie. Later, everyone.